Hey everyone, this is Srinivasan here, and welcome back to my channel. This is Selenium Automation and Java Learning with Srini. So this is my channel, guys, and this is a brief intro about me. So if you're new to this channel and wondering what this is all about, you can check throughout my different playlist, and you will be getting a lot of useful videos on programming, interview questions, and you can leave me a comment as to what additional videos you would like me to prepare. So please do subscribe and do hit the bell icon to get notifications, and do let me know if you need any other videos for me to prepare. So today we are going to continue with our JavaScript series, and we are going to learn what is functions in JavaScript. So this is one of the important topic, and this is like an introduction video, and there would be further parts to this particular video on functions, but this will enable you to get started if you are completely new to the functions concept in the JavaScript. So this will be our agenda for today, and this would be definitely the key takeaways from this particular session. So the first point is that we would need some prerequisites before you get started with this particular session. So whoever are like looking for this particular as a first video in the JavaScript, then I would strongly recommend to go ahead and watch my previous videos in JavaScript. But still, I have listed down a couple of prerequisites which are required for you to follow. That is, you need to have node.js installed. Okay. And I'll tell you why it is required, because the reason being JavaScript actually was primarily introduced in such a way that it can work with browser, right? That was the main intention why JavaScript was introduced primarily. But that would basically lead to us to do programming only in the browser. What if, let's say, I want to do some programming like how we are doing programming with Python, Java, or C sharp, or any other language, right? How do we get that achieved, right? So we need to have an IDE like how we have Eclipse for Java, popular IDE like that. For JavaScript, the popular IDE is Visual Studio. So how would we be able to do programming in Visual Studio for JavaScript, right? So Node.js gives us the runtime environment with all the different whatever runtime environment tools or libraries the JavaScript language requires. It gives the adequate support and everything available so that we can just go ahead and run our programs in Visual Studio for JavaScript. And we will look that in a moment for sure. Right? This is the prerequisite which I have just given an idea. We need to have Visual Studio IDE and we need to have Node.js installed. Okay. So I would primarily ask you to start installing Node.js and then go for Visual Studio IDE. I will share the links with you all as well. Okay. Second point, what we are going to cover in this particular session is what are functions in JavaScript? What is the syntax? How do we write a JavaScript function, right? What are the different types of functions? We will have a look at a couple of examples in today's session. And all of this is going to be completely practical. It's nothing going to be theoretical or verbal knowledge sharing. It's going to be completely practical. So let's get on to today's topic. And I'm going to show you all everything in Visual Studio IDE. But before that, first let me show you all that how do you download these different softwares, right? So first, as I mentioned, you need to have node.js installed, and this will give you the runtime environment for your JavaScript programming. So if you are a Windows user, you need to go here and you need to select whichever is your bit operating system as per the type 32 or 64 bit, and go for the MSI installer .msi and download it. And then once it is downloaded, double click on the software which is installed, which is downloaded, and then you will be able to get the node.js being installed. So I already have installed it. So that is the reason I'm not showing a demo for the same. Okay. Now let's go for the second one. Second one is Visual Studio Code. So you need to click on this particular link, okay, based on your operating system, right? And then you would be having this kind of a screen coming up. So based on your operating system, you can go for respective system installer is what I would advise you. Go for system installer and it will guide you through the installation process. Just go for the default options and you can install for Windows, Linux or Mac. Okay. So once these two prerequisites are set up and you have downloaded Visual Studio Code, right? So what I want you to do is you would see such kind of icon appearing. So double click on it and you would be able to see that it will be initially blank. Okay. So I'll show you from the scratch how you need to do. So you need to go basically to here. Okay. You need to go to your drives location. Let's say, for example, you need to go to the drives location here and you need to click on new folder. Okay. Like I already have created a work folder here. I'm just going to create one more. Let's say workspace one, for example. Okay. And that is it. Once you have created a folder in your local computer, go to your Visual Studio Code, and in the file option, there is an option called open folder. Okay. You can also open by file, but if you want to open a complete folder, this is the way we need to go about. Click on open folder, and you can see now my folders are appearing, and I can go for, let's say, JS Workspace 1, and you can see it's getting refreshed, and now it is reflecting my folder, right? Whichever I have used. Okay. Now I can start adding whatever code I want, and you can see there is welcome messages coming up, and you can go through their startup guides if you wish to, but it's not required. Okay, I'm going to close this one. And how do you create a file from scratch? You see there are options given here: new file, new folder, within this folder, etc. So we'll go for new file creation here. Okay, and I'll call it as JS introduction, or let me call it as JS functions, because we're going to learn functions in this session. Remember to give .js extension and hit enter. So it's going to create a file for you. And you can see, as per the abbreviation, we have mentioned that we want to create a JavaScript file. Now, once again, if you're completely new to this session, I understand totally that it may, be a little difficult for you to grasp so many concepts, what I'm going to explain to you all. So that is the reason I'm going to keep it very simple in this particular session. So if you want to print anything in JavaScript, unlike Java or other languages, what syntax we follow is console.log. It will print it to your browser console. So I'll just say, hello, let's learn functions. Okay. I'm just giving a slight introduction for the ones who might be a little newer to this JavaScript, for them to get comfortable, right? And if you want to run it, what you need to do is you have this option called run without debugging. Okay. And you also have this option called new terminal. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I already have Node.js installed in my laptop, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say node.js. This is the way how we need to run. Okay. So I am currently in this workspace. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say my function name, or the file name is functions, right? .js. If I want to run any file, I want to tell that I'm in the home directory. So this dot stands for your current directory, which is JS workspace 1. Within that, you're going inside it and you want to run this particular file, right? So that is the reason I'm giving this particular extension, and then I'm going to hit enter. Okay. So it's going to run this particular file. Okay. It's just trying to find this particular file. Okay. Just a minute. Okay, so there seems to be some error. Okay, no worries. So what we can go is we can try to even go for the second option. We can go for this run without debugging, and select your environment as node.js, and then it will start running it. So you can see here. So yeah, so it has given you the output, hello, let's learn functions. Now if I go to this one, okay, so I think we missed out one small syntax actually. Instead of node.js, we need to write node.exe. Sorry on my part. So, and here we need to just run this way. Okay. So it's not node.js, it's node.exe. Even though it's node.js, but while running it, we need to use syntax node.exe. That's the thing which we need to use. So remember that either you can run from terminal or you can run from your run section. Okay. Now let's get started with respect to function. So how do you declare a function in JavaScript? You can declare by function by writing this function keyword, and then you can give your own name. Let's say display information, right? I'm just going for this kind of a syntax. Once again, you can just write whatever you want to execute here. Okay. Hello. Or let's say in this particular function we want to mention. Okay. So this is without any arguments. I've just created a simple function, and I'm just going to put a semicolon. But how do I make sure that this gets printed, right? You need to call this function. So that is the reason you need to write this way in order for you to call the function. Yeah. So this is the way how we write. So this is going to be an additional thing in this session, guys. It's like a bonus which I'm covering. Write a one-liner comment. in JavaScript. If you want to write a one-liner comment in JavaScript, this is the way how you need to do. Okay. And if you want to write a multi-line comments, let's say, for example, if I want to create a functional documentation comment, you can just write within this particular syntax. I'll show you again. This and this. This is for multi-line comment in JavaScript. And what we call this kind of comments, we call it as functional documentation comment. Not just JavaScript, in general, we follow this kind of a syntax, be it Java or JavaScript. This is the way we do it. So this syntax has all been somewhat, similar to the ones which you might be aware in Java programming language. This is how we do it in Java language as well, the single line comment. And this is the multi-line comment, and this is the functional documentation comment. So it's nothing different here. Only the way we write the print and some other syntax or some additional libraries or additional things are newer in JavaScript, and we will look at that in detail. So this is how you call a function, and this is how you define a function. Okay. So I'm just going to say here function definition. Now, what if I want to have another function created with some parameters, right? There could be a situation where you might want to do some calculation. Let's just take a simple additional thing like how we do in a calculator. So I'm just going to say calculate. Okay. What I want to calculate, I'll write down everything. So I'm just going to say first addition. Okay. And when I'm going to say addition, I also want to store the values, right? So I'm going to say num1 and num2. I'm going to take two variables. If I say addition of what, right? If I want to, let's say, print what I'm going to add. So I'm going to add like this way. I'm just going to put a message here. I'm going to add num1 and num2. And I'm going to say is, okay? So I'll explain this part, don't worry. And here I'm going to say num1 plus num2. And I'm going to do the computation and store it within a bracket, right? Parenthesis, and then I'm going to end it. So I'll explain the syntax here. So this is like similar to Java, as I mentioned. Instead of system.out.println, or in general, if you are new to programming, right, you need to write a print statement. You need to print it into your console. That's the way we are trying to do here. We need to always start with a single literal, like this. It's like a double quotes, or you can start with a single apostrophe. I started with a single apostrophe here, and okay, and also I can leave any space. I can leave any space with one space in between the single apostrophe. Okay. And similarly, I'm just going to follow one syntax here. So I'm going to remove the double quotes with a single quotation, and then I'm going to compute the addition. Okay. Likewise, let's say I also want to do the multiplication, and I also want to do division, right? Let's say multiplication, subtraction. Let's go for these three: addition, subtraction, multiplication. So let's keep it say this way. So num1 minus num2, num1 into num2, okay, and num1 plus num2. So this is the computation which you want to perform. So how do you call this function now? Like similar to this way, but instead of calling that function, we are going to call, let's say, 20 comma 10. Okay. And since our function is doing entire addition, subtraction, multiplication inside it itself, we don't want to return any values as such as of now. So we are good there. We don't need to worry about that. So this is purely without any return type. Okay. But with functional parameters, right? Function parameters. First, this is the thing which I wanted to highlight here. And this particular function was without any parameters. No return type and no function parameters. And this is how we call the function. And let's run this program. So how do we do that? We write node.exe. Again, follow the similar syntax. Okay, I'm just writing it again so that you can also directly use the up arrow, but just for practicing sake and to show you all, I've written the complete syntax and then run it. And here we go. We have got the output. It has first called the display info function, and then inside the calculate function, it has done the addition, subtraction, and multiplication operations. And how basically we have print message was that we had to also print it. So I can write here and, so that it is clear which two numbers we're talking about. And then we are trying to, yeah, run it. So let me do it again. This looks better, right? Addition of 20 and 10 is 30, multiplication and subtraction is this value. So this is how we write very simple syntax in JavaScript for functions with and without parameters I've shown here. Now, what if I try to tweak this function a bit, that in a way that I want to return some value? Okay. So rather than printing it, let's say if I were to only add, okay, I'm just going to keep it simple in this session. So that's why I don't want to show you all how we can return multiple values right now. So just a minute. I'll make it add. Okay. And I'm going to just return num1 plus num2. Okay. So I'm going to return num1 plus num2. And when I call this function, I can just say add 30, 30. Let's just change the values as well. And I'm going to write now console.log addition of two numbers. So this is how we have done a slight tweak to our code. We have get a new function which is going to have the capability of with return type now, right? With return type and with function parameters. This is the third variety which I wanted to show you all in this session. And now let's run the program. And we are calling this function here inside the console.log. We can also do that. Either we can call separately and store into a variable. Like we could have also done this way, add 30, 20. Okay. And I can store this into a variable. So we use variables with let or where. So I'm just using, let's say, return output. Okay. And then I could have also tried to have this variable basically like appended here. This also is possible, right? I can also do this way. This is the one way of doing it. And you can just do this way. Or if you feel the below one is a better approach or a simpler approach, you can also do that. You can directly call the function and do it. And you can see that the output will be same. So let's go ahead and run this program. And you can look at this code now that it is exactly giving you the same output 50-50. And either you can store into a variable like let and use it. Otherwise, you can directly call the function. So this was about the thing which I wanted to discuss. And small additional thing is that you would be surprised, and now you need to know why it is working seamlessly here. The reason being that in your path variable, so there is a path system variable which you need to add for your installation. Once you do node.js installation, actually most of the times it will be taken as a part of your installation, but still I just wanted to show you all. You can see here that Node.js, the path for my Node.js is included in my system variables path variable. And that is the reason it is working seamlessly. If it is not present, it will give you some error, right? So make sure this is present in your system variables path variable. How to add it? Just you need to put a semicolon and then you need to add the new value. If this system path variable was not existing, then you need to just keep this value. Okay. So for separation, you can use semicolon. So that is it from my side, guys, and see you all in the next video. Thank you so much.